Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This is the Bodega Cat Book Club Health Edition. And today we're continuing our reading of Never Be Sick Again by Francis Raymond. Oh, Raymond Francis. Uh, Interesting, eh? He got two first names. Okay. And today we'll be reading chapter 10, and this will be part 4. And I hope you guys are enjoying this book and check out our other book clubs as well. On Mondays, we have Spiritual Edition book that we're reading. And we're actually starting a new spiritual book in August, so join us there. And then on Thursdays, we have the financial book clubs. And incidentally, in October, August, not October, August, we're starting a new health book as well. We're going to be finishing up this book, Never Be Sick Again, at the end of July. So join us and check out our merch, check out our website, and yeah, leave us comments, suggestions. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, let's do it. Digestive destruction. As you know, one way in which drugs cause disease is by interfering with the digestion of food and absorption of nutrients, by damaging gut tissue, killing off beneficial bacteria, and creating an environment that inhibits the growth of normal beneficial gut bacteria. We lose our ability to digest food and absorb nutrients properly. This condition creates both deficiency and toxicity, the two causes of cellular malfunction and disease. Three classes of drugs are responsible for much of this damage: NSAIDs, antibiotics, and hormones. NSAIDs physically damage gut tissue by destabilizing the normal composition of bacteria living in the gut, especially if combined with antibiotics. Antibiotics kill friendly bacteria essential to health and result in a variety of intestinal infections. Hormones such as birth control pills create chemical imbalances in the gut, thus promoting yeast infections such as Candida or Candida. Once yeast change the environment in the digestive system, a long chain of events damage health and cause disease. Gut tissue that is damaged becomes more permeable, leaky to large molecules of undigested food and to microorganisms that enter the bloodstream and circulate throughout the body. This occurrence provokes chronic immune responses manifested as food allergies and other inflammatory conditions, and such inflammatory conditions may be the basis of all chronic disease. These immune responses sometimes create antibodies that match certain body tissues and attack them, resulting in autoimmune diseases such as lupus or arthritis. A person who has a damaged gut may eat an excellent diet, but still suffer malnutrition because of nutrient malabsorption. Adding malabsorption to an already deficient diet is catastrophic to long-term health. Excessive immune reactions produce much debris called immune complexes, which can overburden the kidneys and cause kidney disease. In fact, allergic reactions may be the leading cause of kidney disease. Oh, interesting. Allergic reactions may be the leading cause of kidney disease. I guess that would make sense in a way because it puts a lot of allergic reaction is a decrease in immune system, or the immune system is compromised. Depending on, the range, it could be a little compromised to moderately to severely compromised. And then that puts a lot of that triggers as stress in the body. That your body, I'm just kind of thinking this through a little bit. I'm just that triggers the stress response in the body. And when the body is stressed, it creates cortisol, which puts a lot of burden on the kidney. So I guess it kind of makes sense. Never thought of it that way though. Major and uncorrected maldigestion can lead to extreme weight loss and greater susceptibility to opportunistic infections commonly experienced in people with AIDS. Side note, what was I going to say there? Oh, they say that the gut is your second brain, which is, probably another important aspect of maintaining good gut health. There is I was listening to a podcast the other day, and this woman, she was in the alternative health space for about 50 years, a long time. And she said kimchi is probably the best. She looked at many different uh I guess supplements, medicine, food, or whatever you call it, for the gut, for good gut health. And she concluded that kimchi was probably the best because it promotes good gut health. It promotes good bacteria in your gut, and then it also kills the bad ones. This is what I understand. So anyway, she came up with a kimchi in a pill form. She came up with it and she's selling it. I'll put it in the description box below. Um, I don't get any kickbacks or money or whatever you call it for selling for promoting her stuff. So just check it out, take it, let us know how it goes. Uh, that's all I can say. All right. That's my 2 cents on gut health. I hope I'm making sense. I'm not speaking very well today. I'm usually not speaking very well anyways. Okay, onward. Let's read. Vaccinations. Popular opinion regards vaccinations as one of the modern medicine's greatest achievements, preventing more suffering and saving more lives than any other medical procedure. Nothing could be further from the truth. Any risks or side effects from vaccinations supposedly far outweigh the inherent benefits. However, finding benefits is difficult and finding risks is easy. You have a better chance of staying healthy, of being healthy, if your cells are healthy. Vaccinations damage your cells. In fact, modern medicine's practice of mass vaccinations may be a blunder that ranks with X-rays and antibiotics for damage done to health. No reliable safety study has ever been performed on any vaccine, and evidence suggests that they are both ineffective and harmful. Yet, individuals are forced without consent to risk injury and even death. In October 2000, at the annual meeting of the Association of American Physicians and Surgeons, AAPS, a resolution called for an end to all government mandated vaccinations. Even more astounding, the resolution passed without a single dissenting vote. Jane Orient, MD, executive director of the AAPS, said, quote, our children face the possibility of death or serious long-term adverse effects from mandated vaccines that aren't necessary or that have limited benefits. And a side note, I was listening to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. the other day, and I don't remember the exact number, but he said when he was young, the mandatory vaccination schedule for kids was, I don't, I'm just making a number up, but it was really low because I don't remember the exact number. I would say about 10 or something. Uh, and now in 2025, the mandated vaccine schedule for babies, for infants, is up to, I think it was 90 something, 97 or something like that. My jaws just dropped. I mean, that is crazy. No wonder those little babies cry all the time. Those poor kids, parents and doctors are putting them through all these shots and medications and vaccines and oh my goodness, that's crazy. That's insane. That is insane. Okay, the AAPS, excuse me, resolution read, excuse me, burping my coffee here. The AAPS's resolution read that, quote, mass vaccination is equivalent to human experimentation and subject to the Nuremberg Code, which requires voluntary informed consent. Oh, boy, those doctors, they should be in trouble. Unquote. By failing to inform us of the dangers and taking away our power to choose otherwise, mandated vaccinations become a crime against humanity. You know, as I read, side note here, as I read more about the medical system and all the things that it's doing, whether it nefarious things, whether it's conscious or unconscious or whatever, I am so happy that my higher soul in all its infinite wisdom has taken me out of the medical industry and got me down a more healthy path. So, anyways, just my thought there. The dramatic decline of infectious diseases such as smallpox, diphtheria, and polio often is cited inaccurately as proof of vaccination's effectiveness. The incidence of infectious disease dramatically decreased before the introduction of vaccines. In other words, vaccines get credit for something they did not do. In 1950, the polio epidemic was at its height in Great Britain. By the time polio vaccine was introduced in 1956, polio had already declined by 82%. Similarly, tuberculosis was a persistent killer throughout the 1800s, and by 1945 had already declined by 97%. Other infectious diseases that already were in decline before the introduction of their vaccines include pneumonia, influenza, whooping cough, and measles. Continuing decline merely followed the existing trend. Countries that did not vaccinate against specific diseases experienced similar declines as countries that did. A strong argument for the decline of infectious diseases can be made for a variety of factors, including better sanitation, less crowded living conditions, and the absence of hunger. In addition, diseases tend to have their own evolutionary cycles. They go away as the population gains, quote, herd immunity. Diseases like bubonic plague and scarlet fever experienced declines similar to other infectious diseases. They disappeared without any immunization programs. Finding any studies that prove vaccines' effectiveness is difficult. To prove efficacy, we must analyze studies of vaccinated groups versus unvaccinated ones. Very few of such studies have ever been conducted. The few that have been indicate that have been indicate oh, the few that have been that the few that have been indicate oh, sorry. I'm like, what? Okay, the few that have been, that means the few that have been studied, indicate that the vaccines are ineffective. Recent worldwide outbreaks of virulent forms of TB have demonstrated that alleged, quote, protection by TB vaccines has little to do with whether or not anyone contracts the disease. Not only ineffective, vaccines can also be harmful. Vera Scribner, PhD, a world authority on immunizations and author of the 1993 book Vaccination, wrote, quote, immunizations not only did not prevent any infectious diseases, they caused more suffering and more deaths than any other human activity in the entire history of medical intervention. Having assembled and researched the world's largest collection of data on immunizations, Dr. Scribner concludes that, quote, there is no evidence whatsoever that vaccines of any kind, but especially those against childhood diseases, are effective in preventing the infectious diseases they are supposed to prevent. 100 years of orthodox research shows that vaccines represent a medical assault on the immune system. We should, side note, we should treat immune system as gold, huh? Because that is the first line of defense. The immune system is like your, I'm not familiar with, um, uh, oh gosh, I'm having brain fog today. Um, the Marines, that's what I'm trying to say. The immune system is like the Marines. They're they go in, they're quick, they're fast, they get things done. Um, they're like that. The immune system is like that. Military, that's the word I was looking for. Oh man, I think I need more coffee today. Each generation is subjected to more vaccinations and as a result is experiencing more immune dysfunction diseases. Many children have as many as 22 vaccinations before they go to the first grade, and as more vaccines become available, the number keeps increasing. I think it's all about money, in my opinion. At an international conference in 1997, Terry Phillips, PhD, DSc, Doctor of Science, I think that is, professor of medicine at George Washington University Medical Center, reported that the foreign proteins in virtually all vaccines wreak havoc on the human immune system. Who was it? I was listening to bits and pieces of an interview with Bernie Sanders, I think it was. He said we need more doctors. I don't think we need more doctors. I think we need less doctors. We need less doctors, less medical school, and just leave people alone and let the body do its job, in my opinion. Vaccines are toxic mixtures loaded with various substances that never should be injected into a human body, including foreign proteins and dangerous viruses from chickens, guinea pigs, cows, and monkeys. Those poor animals. My heart breaks for those poor animals. Some researchers believe these viruses put a permanent burden on our immune systems and do continuous damage both to the immune and nervous systems. Vaccines also contain toxic chemicals like mercury, a neurotoxin, ethylene, oh, sorry about that, ethylene glycol, antifreeze, formaldehyde, a carcinogen. Formaldehyde is used to embalm dead people. Aluminum, a carcinogen and also associated with Alzheimer's, plus antibiotics like streptomycin, which can cause allergic reactions. Even the FDA has called for cessation of mercury in vaccines because our children are being exposed to unsafe amounts of it. Just a little side story. When I was a nurse, we would give flu shots to staff and volunteers or whatever that need it. One year I took out one of those papers that they have in the that comes with the vaccine that comes with the medicine bottle in that little box. And you roll it out and it's a long piece of paper and they've got all kinds of chemical stuff, information and how to use it, side effects and blah blah blah. I went and read the ingredient, and I don't remember all the ingredient. They got a bunch of them in there, but I remember reading mercury in the flu vaccine. And I thought to myself, boy, why would they put a known poison in the vaccination and the vaccine? So after that, I never took the flu vaccine again. And instead, what I did was I would drink a bottle, which is about, I think, 16 ounce of kombucha that I would get at the store. And I would, at that time, I was working night shift, which is 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., and day shift, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So I would alternate. And if you alternate, if you work night shift, that's bad enough on your body. But if you alternate, it's really bad on your body. So I was doing both. So my body was like all cuckoo and woo woo and all wonky. But I would drink every time I go to work. I'd have this bottle of kombucha and my coworkers, they would get the flu shot and all of them would get sick except me. I was the only one that didn't get sick and I was able to pick up extra shifts because of that. because they would call in sick. They couldn't come to work. So, anyways, that's my little story about flu shots and vaccinations. And yeah, interesting, eh? All right, onward. Dr. Harris Coulter, in his various writings on vaccinations, says that the allergic response initiated with the injected vaccine is capable of causing encephalitis and inflammation of the brain. Encephalitis can cause permanent brain damage and lead to lifelong problems of autism, dyslexia, learning disabilities, behavioral disorders, and antisocial syndromes. Dr. Coulter estimates that 50% of the children who experience a fever after vaccination actually are suffering from encephalitis. He blames vaccines for the quote new morbidity of learning disabilities and behavioral disorders. There's probably some truth in that. Decisions about whether to be vaccinated, and side note, when you think about it, it's all about the money. Because look at, you give the vaccine, the kids get learning disabilities and behavioral disorders, and then the education system comes in and says, oh, we got to start all these new programs, and we have to fund all these new programs, and we have to hire all these people. And so it's all about the money. And then they said, oh, we don't know why your kid has a learning disability. We don't know why behavioral disorders. We need to do more tests, and that's more money. We have to get more professional psychologists, psychiatrists, and that's more money. Anyways, that's my little side note there. Compulsory vaccination laws exist in every state. However, there are legal exemptions. Learn what the exemptions are in your state and obtain an appropriate one. All states have a medical exemption that a doctor can sign, and many states have religious exemptions which do not require affiliation with any specific religion. Regarding the common flu shot, consider this study published in Lancet. Absenteeism of more than 100,000 employees are noted each winter for 3 years, and the conclusion was that flu shots did not confer any protection. Hey, that kind of validates my little story in it, eh? What about tetanus? Probably the single most important factor in preventing tetanus is thorough cleansing of the wound and by removing all foreign bodies and dead tissues. On rare occasion, quote, tetanus-prone wounds might justify a booster vaccine for those individuals already immunized and immune globulin in those who never have been vaccinated. To avoid an infectious disease, you don't need to have vaccinations. You need to keep your immunity strong. Yeah, you got to keep those Marines healthy and strong and give them the tools that they need, the military knife and then the jacket and the helmet and, the guns and ammos and all these. These are all part of the immunity. Um, Sorry, I don't speak military lingo. I'm just doing the best I can to kind of sort of maybe paint a picture of what it looks like. Um, so that's your immunity, your first line of defense. Okay, let's try that again. I got a little distracted there. To avoid an infectious disease, you don't need to have vaccinations. You need to keep your immunity strong. From the beginning, breastfeeding protects against many infections. Avoid allergenic foods like milk and wheat. Allergies lower immunity and predispose the body to infections. Nutritional status is critical to immune competence. Refined sugars are well known to depress immunity. Regular exercise, a good diet, avoidance of allergens and toxins help maintain a healthy immune system. Moreover, a high quality supplement program is essential. And I'll leave the link about the kimchi pill in the description box below, as well as I'll see if I can find the interview that I was listening to, the gal that created this. Um, yeah, that's actually on my list to get and try. So if anybody tried that, let me know how it goes. Uh, That'd be very interesting. Give credit where credit is due. While a dramatic decline has occurred in mortality during the last century, this decline has little to do with the quote advancement of our healthcare system. Researchers at Harvard University and Boston University have determined that drugs, vaccines, and other medical measures contributed a mere 1 to 3.5% to the decline in US mortality since the turn of the century. This, this data appeared in a 1977 article published in the summer edition of the Millbank Memorial Fund Quarterly, which concluded that increased life expectancy was due to improvements in sanitation and living conditions rather than advances in medicine. That view was supported in a study reported in the September 1977 issue of the Journal of the American Medical Association, concluding that, quote, the most dramatic improvements in the health of our people as a group have been from cleaning up the water supply, sanitation, not medical care, unquote. The decline in mortality is primarily attributable to the decline in killer epidemics such as tuberculosis, scarlet fever, smallpox, diphtheria, and others. The development of city sewer systems, water purification systems, pasteurization, refrigeration, and food hygiene have done far more to prevent infectious disease than all modern medical treatments combined. Watch out for your dentist too. Oh, yes. Dentistry, veterinary practices, what else? Eye ophthalmology, they're all part of the Western medical system out of um what's that guy's name? Rockefeller. So these all need to be looked at again. Dentists contribute to toxic loads and chronic disease just like physicians do, primarily through the use of local anesthetics and toxic materials. Mercury amalgam, amal, what? What? Amalgam, 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 amalgams. Okay, whatever. And metal crowns. Oops. Oh no, I'm going to be reading that word again. Okay, mercury amalgam. I'll say amalgam. I don't know how to pronounce that. Have been in use for more than 100 years, and we have always been told they are safe. A quote, silver amalgam is actually 50% mercury. And this mercury does not stay only in your mouth. The mercury is absorbed by the body and poisons cells. Almost everyone knows that lead is toxic, and lead-based paints have been outlawed since 1970. No one would think of putting lead in their mouth and sucking on it 24 hours a day. Yet mercury is 5,000 times more toxic than lead, and dentists use it in amalgams as if it were harmless. And fluoride too. I used to go to a dentist to get my teeth washed, and he uses fluoride. And at that time, I didn't know any better. Once I know, I stopped going to him. So, and then I looked into like quote unquote holistic dentistry, and boy, they are expensive. That's out of my pay grade. So that's the end of my dental adventure. Since little side note there, sorry about that. Since 1988, the Environmental Protection Agency has classified scrap dental am amalgam. Oh, jeez, I gotta look it up how to say that as a hazardous waste. Putting amalgam. I think that word's gonna stump me now. Down the drain or in the trash or burying them in a landfill is illegal, but the FDA still says they can be put in our mouths. That's crazy. Down the drain. You put it down the drain into the water. The fish eats it, and then we eat the fish. That doesn't make sense to me. Fortunately, things are changing. In 1992, the German government banned the sale and manufacture of dental amalgam. Metal crowns are another problem, and even porcelain crowns are usually made with nickel, a toxic metal and a known carcinogen. Boy, they're very stealth, aren't they? People would advertise like, oh, porcelain is safe and effective. That's like the trigger word that they like to use. But then they make it with something else. They add stuff in it that is toxic. Same thing with cookware. I've been researching non-toxic cookware. They're all a bunch of hooey too. Anyways, that's another one of my many rabbit holes that I've been going down lately. If you already have these toxic materials, sorry, if you have, if you already have these toxic metals embedded in tooth tissue, consider having them removed, but only by someone highly skilled in such removals. If you're going to spend the money, at the very least, take out the mercury. Gold is a high quality metal, but the only one acceptable for the mouth. But even gold is not perfect. I was thinking about that. They mix gold with other stuff too. Even gold is not perfect because it is mixed with other metals to make it harder. While no perfect dental material is available, new plastic materials, when properly installed in fillings or as crowns, appear to be the most acceptable choices for now. Well, I don't know. Now they're talking about plastics and microplastics and all that kind of stuff. So, uh, I don't know. It's like a never-ending cycle. As with all health-related problems, prevention is best. That is true. Eat a good diet, free of refined sugar. Be sure to brush and floss. Be particular about what type of toothpaste too. See Appendix C. And we'll be reading that at the end of the book. In addition to being toxic, putting different metals in the mouth in the presence of saliva, which is electrically conductive, generates subtle electrical currents that you. Oh, okay, let's try that again. In addition to being toxic, putting different metals in the mouth in the presence of saliva, which is electrically conductive, generate subtle electrical currents that corrode the metals in the mouth. Once metals begin to corrode and degrade, they become biologically active and begin circulating around various bodily tissues, leading to toxic accumulation. In addition, the subtle electrical currents can also affect other body functions and cause numerous problems, including hearing loss, insomnia, and difficulties with memory and concentration. Local anesthetics, including lidocaine, are commonly used by dentists and may be substantial contributors to a concert. Okay, let's try again. I think I'm definitely going to need a second cup of coffee here. Local anesthetics, including lidocaine, are commonly used by dentists and may be substantial contributors to our cancer epidemic. These anesthetics break down in the body into cancer-causing compounds called anilines. In 1993, the FDA found that lidocaine, when exposed to human tissue, breaks down into two 6-dimethylanine. What? 6-dimethylanine. Dimethyl Okay, break down into two 6-dimethylanine, a compound that is known to cause virtually every kind of cancer in animals, and it does so more than 99% of the time. In September 1996, as a result of these findings, the FDA removed from the market all over-the-counter painkillers containing these local anesthetics and required that a warning be placed on all new prescription pharmaceuticals containing them. Unfortunately, existing prescription anesthetics were not required to carry the warning, and most health professionals are still unaware of this problem. They should just do away with over-the-counter drugs. People self-medicate themselves. No wonder we're a culture of zombies. 'Cause we medicate ourselves so much, and they're all over the counter without doctor's prescription, with a lot of side effects. Sorry, that's my little 2 cents there. Okay, work with your dentist and doctors to minimize exposure to local anesthetics. Local anesthetics are given more often than necessary, usually for the dentist's convenience. Use these products only when absolutely necessary, and use the minimum dose necessary. Do not keep requesting more anesthetics because of the fear of not quite being numb. Alternatives include acupuncture, hypnosis, rubbing oil of cloves on the gum. I use clove on my gum because sometimes I get uh pain in my teeth and my gum. I take 1 or 2 drops of clove essential oil, and I would gargle it, like a saltwater gargle. It works. I use medical grade. Even with essential oils, you have to be careful because there's a lot of oils out there. They might call it natural or whatever, but they add a lot of dilution to it, so it's not 100%. So, the oils I get, if I use it for medical purposes, um, there's only one place that I buy it, as far as I know for now. I mean, there's a lot of companies out there that you can get it from, and really, you don't really know unless you do like a lab work to test the not the authenticity. What's the word I want? Potency of it. But even the lab work, you have to know how to read it. So, anyways, I'll leave a link for Clove if any of you is interested. Um, and as well as the company that I buy my medical essential oils from. Because I use essential oils for other things, for like cleaning and stuff. And so those can be diluted a little bit. Those doesn't have to be pure 100% medical grade. So it kind of depends on what I'm using it for. Anyway, sorry about that. My little rabbit hole. Okay. I hope you find my anecdotes and stories and comments useful. If it annoys you too much, let me know and I'll just shut up and read. The healer within yourself. Regardless of which medical treatments you choose, understand how the treatments actually work and how they affect your cells. Treatments designed to optimize or balance the function of your cells generally are safer and more effective than treatments designed to mask symptoms. Take medicine only when you need it. You definitely want to question taking drugs every day as a part of your life. And I include that with the supplements as well. So like all the quote unquote natural, quote unquote healthy supplements. I'm very and part of it too, because I'm lazy, but I don't take it every day. I like to mix things up. Do something, take something for a while and then do something different and maybe come back to the first thing and kind of maybe alternate or rotate and not just taking supplements all the time. Maybe take like powder or, you know, uh, dried fruit, like the cold gobi gar sorry, goji berry, things like that. Uh, Kind of mix it up a bit. And I think your body is happy when you mix things up and make it fresh and, not the same old boring stuff. Yeah, do something different. Anyways, that's only my suggestion. Let's try that sentence again. I'm sure going down a lot of rabbit holes today. Okay, take medicine only when you need it. You definitely want to question taking drugs every day as a part of life. and only after you have compared and attained second opinions on benefits and possible side effects. And remember, second opinions, you have to be careful which second opinion that uh you seek. Because if you have the same, let's say if you have a kidney doctor that says one thing and you want to get a second opinion on another kidney doctor, you want to make sure that the second kidney doctor doesn't go to the same medical school as the first kidney doctor because he's going to say the same thing. And if you get a third and fourth opinion, you want to do the same thing. You want to get a second opinion that is completely opposite or not, at least not the same as the first opinion, so you can get a more, you know, uh, you I don't think you can get a 360 view of, oh, sorry, my camera went out there for a second there. Um, I don't think you can get a whole 360 view of the situation, but at least you get, a little bit broader perspective, and different perspective. So anyways, that's my opinion about that. Okay, remember that you are in charge and you must take responsibility for your own health by supporting your body's natural abilities to repair and regulate itself. John Lee, MD, wrote in his 1993 book, Optimal Health Guidelines, quote, going to the doctor these days can be risky business. In generations past, the basic tenet of medical care was primum non nocere, above all, do no harm. Now it's the opposite, isn't it? Everything the doctor does is harm. Today, that dictum has been modified to do as little harm as possible. Gee whiz, it's amazing how far we have fallen. Even that is becoming operationally impossible. The patient must now learn to look out for himself. Physicians do have their place, but one has to know what that place is. I agree. For example, anyone with acute health problems such as stroke, a bleeding ulcer, or chest pains should seek immediate medical attention. Or acute stuff like gunshot wound or, these need immediate attention. So yes, we need a doctor for that. However, people who are suffering from chronic illness problems, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, high blood pressure, depression, and so forth, are best advised to avoid modern conventional medicine and to seek competent alternative care. Traditional healers typically worked to balance the body, both physically and energetically, thereby promoting health. That remains the underlying approach of many alternative practitioners and alternative treatments, including a growing number of enlightened MDs, naturopaths, homeopaths, acupuncturists, chiropractors, energy healers, massage therapists, and others. Yep. And you want to do all. Try all of them to get a more holistic, a true holistic approach, right? Because all of them are trained in one particular way and they only have one perspective and one training. So as a patient, you want to be your own doctor, right? Try try all the medicine and ask questions. Not medicine, but try all the other alternative practices and ask questions. Why does my body feel this way? What do you think about this? Blah, 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 blah. Always ask questions. Be curious. Conventional medicine is a powerful money-making bureaucracy that is incredibly resistant to change. But there is also a growing movement in this country to pass medical freedom laws that would bring more competition and creativity into the medical marketplace. Physicians would then be free to pursue treatments that are not only safe but more effective, such as treating heart disease with diet and supplements rather than surgery, treating cancer with nutrition, detoxification, and herbs, and treating strokes with hyperbaric oxygen. About half of all patients in America now seek at least some form of alternative treatment. People are putting the power of health into their hands. This statement shouldn't suggest that alternative treatments are always safe and effective. Indeed, many are not. But the growing discontent with our conventional healthcare system is a reality that we can no longer ignore. Optimizing your position on the medical pathway requires being aware of the hazards of modern medicine as well as its miracles. You, not your doctor, are responsible for your health. Yes, that is the truth. And that is the end of chapter 10. Wow, interesting. I think a good percentage, this is just my opinion, alternative treatments should be probably 80 to 90%, and conventional medical treatment would be 10%. Now, if that is the model for our current culture, a lot of doctors would be out of a job. Conventional Western doctors would be out of a job. Interesting, huh? Hmm. Anyways, that's the end here. I hope you enjoyed that. And as I said, check out our other book clubs and our new books that we're going to be reading, and our website and our merch. And we'll see you next time. Okay, bye bye now.